Guess who's back? That's right. It's the RAS College Football Show. We've obviously had a few weeks off because the regular season is complete, but bowl season is just getting started. I'm John Martin, of course. He is the great Eddie Walls, and today we are going to be going through quite a bit of the college football bowl season, mostly through and up to Christmas, and then we'll have some details next week for the games that obviously fall past Christmas. So, Eddie, man, good to see your face as always. It was a routine for me.
Yeah.
And so I've missed you, man. How's everything?
Missed you too, buddy. Missed you too. I tell you, I'm 2 games into bowl season. Closing line value mattered both on both. I'm 2-0, and I think I almost had a heart attack on both games. I needed a record-long field goal from a field goal kicker from Western Michigan on Saturday night. I need an interception, which never happens with Memphis in the final seconds.
Oh,
I mean, we're rocking and rolling here, but I think I'll take my first half total bets in the NBA.
I didn't think
over that for a while.
I didn't think that Memphis game was going to be as sweaty as it was, man.
Oh, man.
That was
awful.
But real quick before we get underway, college football bowl service is live at raspicks.com. At least 3 more releases. I think it'll wind up probably being more. First went live last night, as Eddie talked about, with Memphis -3, closed 5, landed 5, but -3 obviously was a winner. You'll also get the 7 pending plays. And if you have any questions on prices, suggestions, specific games, obviously, if you're a subscriber, you have the ability to do that, and you'll get all those questions answered. Again, raspicks.com for those plays. Without further ado, let's get it cracking, Eddie. West Kentucky, James Madison, 720, total of 50.
Yeah. So we rolled around the idea of releasing this play. The weather was very, very sketchy last night in Western Kentucky, James Madison. For those that don't know, Western Kentucky is probably the worst run defense left in the bowls. They're 130th in the nation. They're also going to be missing their leading tackler at linebacker, their best defensive tackle, and a cornerback. They're going to be losing their left tackle, but he was injured. But the key factor here, Western Kentucky, despite having so many players into the transfer portal, other than the guys I just listed, they'll be playing all of them. Coach Helton likes for his players, if they're going to the transfer portal, to play in these kind of games. So we did discuss very heavily playing the over. We did play it. I did play it a little bit. We couldn't discuss. We couldn't possibly release something with a chance of a monsoon, which is what it looked like all night last night and this morning. But weather is cleared up. We definitely like the over in there. I like Western Kentucky quite a lot. James Madison's going to be missing both of their starting quarterbacks. So it's going to come down to a freshman. But if they can't stop the run, they're going to be trailing at some point, you'd figure, in this game, playing from behind, having to throw with a really, really good quarterback. James Madison has a sample size that's very, very small when it comes to dealing with air raid attacks, but they didn't do well in either of those instances. So, yeah, we like the points and we like the over in that game. Like I said, you can't do that to clients, though. You can't release over into, a torrential rainstorm that could possibly happen at any given moment. There's still a 15% chance of rain, but as of right now, it's 76 degrees outside, fully sunny. Made sense to me.
Yeah, no, you got to take that journey on your own, brother.
Yeah.
Take that journey on your own. Right. All right, moving right along here. And if you have questions, of course, do our best to get those in. We have a lot of games today, though, so it's different than a typical show. You just let me know, Eddie, if you want to answer some questions, man. I'll get them in. So
yeah, you could ask away. I'm fine with anything.
Yeah. All right, moving right along. Cal, UNLV 3.5, total here of 46.
This is absolutely wild. This is the biggest line move I've seen in the bowl so far this year, and I think it probably will end up being the biggest move that we do see maybe this year. I'm going to give you everything I got. All right, so Cal is going to be missing their starting quarterback, Mendoza. That was known. They're going to be missing their starting wide receiver. That was known. 3 offensive linemen, starters, all gone. Enter the transfer portal, will not be playing. And then they're going to be missing an offensive guard who is a backup as well. He's also decided. So you're basically down 4 starters on the offensive line, the quarterback and their leading wide receiver. On UNLV's side, you're missing possibly, I can't find any information on it this time. I suspected that Ricky White, their only explosive wide receiver, would miss this game. There's mixed reports on that information. The biggest thing that I really can't quite understand with this UNLV money is they don't have a coach. They have a head coach that literally is not going to retain this job. I don't know if he has a lot of connections to the university going forward, but the fact that Brennan Marion is not coaching in this game, wasn't really highly considered for this, probably left a bad taste in a lot of players' mouths. The NIL deal was pretty bad, obviously, at the beginning of the year. I don't really know how you back this UNLV team with this much confidence, especially, missing Catalan, their best defensive back. He's likely to miss this game. Starting linebacker is likely to miss this game. I played under at the beginning of this betting cycle. I would never suggest that now. I hate when people do that. So yeah, it's just a pass at current numbers for me. I do kind of think that this line has gotten out of line. 3.5 is a lot for a team. We have a track record now. We have, in the last 2 years, teams without a coach in the bowl game, I think, are 0-12 against the spread, or maybe 2-11 against the spread, 0-12 straight up. It makes perfect sense if you think about it. The coach knows he's not going to be there next week.
That's right.
The players are also testing the waters on what's going to possibly happen with the transfer portal and their NIL deals.
Yep.
And they still have to go to school. I mean, if your head coach isn't there, your offensive coordinator who's been coaching you all year isn't there, your defensive coordinator isn't there.
Yeah.
I just worry about the effort level. I'd have a hard time laying 3 or 3.5 here. I might get involved with Cal, but I mean, that offensive situation is really bad there. The total's gotten beat down far too much for me to consider under at this point. So it's either Cal or pass for me at this time.
Couple of comments. Steven says, "What Eddie has achieved, we can only dream of."
Well, that's a good friend of mine, and he can call me anytime. But thank you very much, Steve. I appreciate you, buddy.
Duncan says, "Let's be honest. Anyone who matters isn't going to class."
Okay, so I thought that too, but then Wilcox came out today and said that every single player on his team had to take finals this week. He said it was a major distraction. Over 160 finals were taken this week.
Oh my!
170. And he said that people are forgetting that these kids go to class. I still don't know who the starting quarterback is for Cal. I think it's C.J. Harris from Ohio, who's strictly a runner, but he's pretty decent at running. Yeah, I don't know. I thought that too, man. I thought anybody. I think when it comes to the Cals and the Vanderbilts of the world and stuff like that, I think that they're still going to class, man. Yeah. I mean, I don't think you're going to Cal strictly for football purposes. I mean, that's UNLV maybe.
That's exactly right.
But yeah,
that's exactly right. All right, moving right along here, and I'll keep these up. I was asked to keep these up. Georgia Southern, Sam Houston, Georgia Southern -4.5 with a total here of 48.5.
Yeah. Okay. So Sam Houston State had everybody enter the transfer portal. They lost their head coach as well, and it was kind of a max exodus. However, Sam Houston State has never played in a bowl game, obviously, at the FBS level, and their team was pretty pumped up to get to one. So all the players decided to play in this game pretty much. They're really not missing any key factors besides a backup quarterback and a linebacker. It's going to be a full-on effort. So that's why you saw this line go from 6.5, 7 down to 4.5, 4. Georgia Southern is really, really kind of something that Sam Houston State hasn't faced this year. In an air raid attack, I tried doing a lot of work on it, but I really didn't have a sample size to go with. So yeah, I'm kind of clueless there. I kind of lean over. And obviously Sam Houston State, if you believe in that program and you believe that the coach being gone isn't a distraction and the players entering the transfer portal aren't that distracted, this number is actually still kind of high. I have it at 2.5, 3. It feels like a very, very high variance situation for me personally. I just try to stick, when it comes to bowls, I'm just going to be honest, I try to stick to opt-outs, finding out what I can find before the market and kind of hitting it that way. Once stuff is kind of known, you're gambling a little bit. And end of the year, I mean, it's okay to gamble, I guess, but I'm just not that variance proof.
Got it. All right. So that takes care of that. Again, moving right along, we are hitting all the games up until Christmas here for the first half of the college football bowl extravaganza here on RAS Picks and the RAS YouTube. Ohio, Jacksonville State here, 4.5, 15 with a total of 56.
Okay, so we released both the side and the total this morning, and I'll explain why. Well, first of all, Ohio has been world beaters for the last 7 weeks. They've absolutely destroyed everybody. They're completely intact. They haven't anybody go to the portal. They haven't any opt-outs. It sounds like they're jazzed. I mean, and they should be. They won the MAC championship with ease, which was a shock to anybody, including myself. They ran through Miami, Ohio's defense, which is the best defense that they'll face all year long. Jacksonville State obviously keeps their both these teams keep their offensive coordinators as interim. So that's the first thing that we'll talk about when we talk about the total. Jacksonville State plays the second fastest tempo in all of college football. That's not going to change with the offensive coordinator as the head coach. What will change is that they're missing their top 2 tacklers. They've signed with other programs. They're officially out of the program. Their safety and linebacker and two defensive linemen. So their defense is down a couple of notches. I just need them to play with a little bit of pace. I'm at 57.5. We released at 54. I think it probably comes down to 56, 55.5. I imagine there'll be some buyback on that kind of key number, especially in a bowl game with Ohio. I think I'm okay with that there. I just think Ohio is definitely, they hit their stride. I mean, you want to kind of play on these hot teams, and before they get involved with going to UCF to follow their coach or anything like that, I just thought that there was too much value on Ohio at 3.5.
Got it. All right. And again, that's a release. You can get those at respicks.com. At least 3 more releases are expected. All right. Tulane, Florida, -12 here for the Gators with a total of 49.5.
And I dropped the ball here. I just flat out did. So Mensa, the quarterback for Tulane, opts out, and the whole entire market goes crazy and goes all the way up to 14.5.
Yep.
I was never close to that number. I was closer to like 10.5. And I know Florida's been an absolute bet on for the last 4 or 5 weeks, and they completely overachieved this year. But Tulane, I mean, what was this number like 3 weeks ago before they collapsed against Memphis and Army? It's probably closer to like 3, maybe 4.
Yeah.
And if all they're missing is a quarterback, and then Florida has a tight end, defensive tackle, right tackle, and a defensive tackle, all either prepping for the NFL or have left the team via transfer portal. Those are 4 starters. I probably should have bet at 14.5 or 14, and I just dropped the ball. I don't like betting teams where they have a third-string quarterback who's already announced he's going to the transfer portal directly after the game. I don't know what the effort level is going to be there, especially if they fall behind and he takes a couple of hits. There's also no backup quarterback for him. He's been in college football a long time, but I still don't have a sample size because he's played on Oregon behind NFL players. And then this year, Mensa beats him out of the job, and Mensa ends up being incredibly good, obviously. So, yeah. It would be Tulane or nothing for me, and it looks like it's going to be nothing. It'd be under for me or nothing, and I'm pretty much right on the number. I'm at 49, so never got involved.
All right. You know what everybody came for? I don't know.
There you go.
I don't know if everybody came for these. I don't know, but they are the playoff games, and they get started. Let me get that ticker out of here. They get started with Indiana at Notre Dame. Notre Dame here is sitting at 7 -15 with a total of 52.
Yeah. So we discussed releasing this play earlier today. We decided that maybe we'd like to do something closer to game time. And of course, while we were talking about it, it moved. Over is the play. And it's pretty simple for me. One, I made it over what the number was for sure. I was at 54.5, I believe. I just watched Notre Dame give up a ton of yards against USC, the only real quarterback and passing attack that they faced all season long. I think that Rourke is better than Mavia at USC. And I think that Cignetti's not dumb. He's not going to try and run into the line like he did at Ohio State in the first half. And then we're going off of very small sample sizes here, but I saw Ohio State really push around Indiana. I think that Notre Dame has that same kind of offensive line that Ohio State does. I don't think either team is going to have a problem moving the ball. I do have real concerns with Indiana's defensive line just based off of the Ohio State game, which is really all I have to go off of. I mean, unfortunately, they just faced a schedule that doesn't really give me a lot to go. That Michigan pushed them around at times in the second half there. My only concern, and it's not a big one, is just if Notre Dame gets up big early, they could probably play ball control a little bit. But I still trust Rourke and Cross and all of those weapons that they've developed over the past couple of years to get things done on this Notre Dame defense, who is still down an All-American secondary player. So Yeah, I liked over, and I was sad to see it move before we could get it out to you guys.
Yeah, like you, I have what I have in terms of
Right.
Indiana's competition, and Notre Dame tends to, when they see, I don't know if we're going to call Indiana lesser competition, but I mean they tend to have a lot of success and tend to run it up a little bit. I know that Navy and Army are in a little different category than Indiana. Obviously, Indiana's in the playoff, but we saw Notre Dame run the score up there twice. And again, if all I have to go on in terms of the time that Indiana stepped up, it was against Ohio State, and that was pretty ugly. So
I also like the fact that Marcus Freeman does run it up on people when it
he
came to
does.
the over.
He does.
I don't know if that's the kind of guy, given the circumstance, where if he's up 35-14 in the third quarter, just lays off the gas. I don't see that from him. He doesn't feel like that kind of guy to me.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I like the over there. I feel like it's unfortunate sometimes when things like this happen, because we are at least going to talk about it, if not release it today. But now the numbers moved, and I mean, I'm at 54. Is 52 worth a play? Maybe small. Maybe if you have something to sweat, but it's thin.
Right. Absolutely. All right. Moving right along here. SMU, Penn State. Number been pretty static. 8.5, 8.5.
Right.
Total of 54 in this one.
Yeah, I think I like Penn State. I'm not really sure yet. I mean, it's like, I hate to say it, but these playoff games are kind of like the last handicap that I do.
Yeah.
And I'm going to get around to all of them tonight and tomorrow. I mean, like, if you have a number edge, like I did in Indiana and Notre Dame, it's just, you just fire. But I mean, I've got to look at the sample size of SMU a little bit more closely, because I was really down on the ACC. And the more that I do bowl reviews for the ACC teams, I mean, it's just very clear to me that this is like the most mediocre ACC that we saw in some time. I think that a lot of that had to do with FSU just being so far down. It allowed other teams to come up and play at a level that maybe we were unexpected by. But I know that, like, in the beginning of the year, I was not high on SMU. They should have lost to Nevada. They got beat by BYU. Then they make the quarterback change. Things look really, really rosy. But I'm just wondering, because like right now, I'm going to tell you, I don't have like that big of a numbers edge. It's pretty decent, but it's not like great. I'm going to do more of a numbers review this tonight on this particular game. But for right now, I think it's going to be Penn State. We'll see. And then I can't do anything with the total because, again, I don't know how SMU is going to fare in that kind of weather and that kind of environment. I mean, has SMU ever played a game in 15-degree weather? I don't really know. And a whiteout with 115,000 fans? This is pretty uncharted territory. Don't get me wrong. It is so good for college football.
Yes, it is.
I mean, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, like you, I mean, I really struggle with the ACC as a whole. That it kind of felt like it just cannibalized itself. And like I'm not really sure there's one good team in it. I mean, Miami could have been a 7-5 football team.
Absolutely, and they probably should have been.
Yeah, like they lived
when you look at the top of the rankings, we have Duke as a 9-win team. They never played a game that impressed me one time this entire season. I mean, every team was kind of down. Virginia Tech dealt with injuries all year long, barely squeaks into a bowl. I mean, North Carolina State squeaks into a bowl.
Yes.
UNC wins 6 games and maybe didn't deserve to win that. Boston College never impressed me. So it's like, I've got to go through and do a deeper dive on some of these ACC teams. And thankfully, we're only going to like Christmas Eve tonight. But yeah, I'll have something there and we'll try to get it out to people.
But yeah, I could not play SMU in this game. I just could not. I just don't think the league is good. I don't think they played anybody that's even close to Penn State's level of competition. And I think Penn State will see SMU as a welcome respite from, the Big Ten, big physical style of play. Like, I just think Penn State's style wins out in this one. I mean, again, great year for SMU, obviously, and Rhett Lashley to be here. Don't get me wrong, but I just think this is one where Penn State can thrive and have a very, very good day, especially there at home. So would be on the Penn State side. All right, Clemson. Yeah. Speaking of, a chance to be there. I mean, where do these guys come from? They were sandbagging us all year. They squeaked in and they're rewarded with a trip to Texas as 12-point dogs with a total here of 51.5.
Yeah, I don't have anything here. I actually looked at this game before I looked at any of the others because I have really wonky ratings for Clemson. But somebody I really, really respect did make the point that Texas really hasn't been dominant all year long. Nobody in the SEC. I mean, they beat the hell out of Florida, who wasn't trying that one week, who took the week off and just let all their freshmen play.
Yep.
They dominated Kentucky kind of without a quarterback. But other than that, you can't really pinpoint any super dominant wins by 2 touchdowns or more. And that might be due to the fact that Ewers was pretty banged up all year long, and he really didn't throw the ball down the field. Maybe with a couple of weeks off, he feels a little bit better. But what really stands out to me is the Texas defense just seems super dominant. So, yeah, I'm at 13. I wasn't dying to get involved. I understand the over money, but subjectively, I don't know if Clemson can move the ball on Texas. They couldn't move the ball on South Carolina. I have Texas's defense ahead of South Carolina. Clemson really, really struggled in that South Carolina game. So it would be under for me if I were to go anywhere with this, but I can't possibly. I'm at like 50. I think I'm at 50 and I'm at 13. So like I was never going to have a chance to get involved. I think Texas is clearly the more talented program, but do I really want to lay, 2 touchdowns essentially with a team that throws the ball on average about 6 yards per pass? I don't know. It's all checked.
No, I think your, general uncomfortableness, right, about this game is exactly correct. Like, there's nothing that excites me about either one of these sides. I actually think you can make a compelling case for the under. I mean, if you're showing 50, it's 51.5. Like, I'm willing to, honestly, me personally, I'm willing to bet that under because I think Texas is starting the wrong quarterback. And
you've said that multiple times now. Yeah.
Clemson just hasn't shown me anything offensively. I mean, they played Georgia to start the year, and that's not. I mean, it's a good Georgia team. We've seen better Georgia teams over the in the past, and they had no success. So
I just realized they've had 20 combined points against SEC teams.
Yes.
14 against South Carolina and 6 against Georgia. So,
and this is a Texas defense that is better than both of those units probably. So I think the under would be the look here, and I would have no problem playing it rather than worry about the side. I think the under actually is pretty good at 51.5. So
maybe we can wait for a 54 or a 53. Maybe we'll
I'd love that. Yeah. You think Texas love hits the market, or which way do you think it's more likely to go?
Yeah, I think Texas is probably going to. It's more of a public play, but I think that some sharps awful. I just think, like I just stated when I was talking about SMU, I just don't know if the ACC has the talent right now.
Right.
I mean, the fact that Clemson's in here right now is kind of weird to me. I mean, this was a team that I really thought that they'd be playing, the Radiant Light Bowl or whatever. I was on them again. I was on them against SMU plus the points, but I mean, I don't know.
They back then, man. Maybe they're a team of destiny, or maybe they just stink and they got fortunate because of a couple of breaks.
Yeah, I don't know. They have a coach that's very good in these kind of games, though. I mean, let's say, there's worse things you could bet on in life than Dabo Sweeney in a playoff game. I mean, he's got kind of a track record.
I think that's a really fair point. All right, moving right along. Tennessee at Ohio State. I mean, you said it, the fact that we get games like this, right? I mean, we have an SEC team that is going to the shoe. Ohio State 7.5 minus 05 with a total here 46.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you flat out that I was pretty excited to bet over in this game. And then the news started trickling in little by little. Like every single Tennessee wide receiver is somehow like banged up to where they can't practice and they're wearing no contact jerseys. And then I start looking at Ohio State's track record against teams that are even halfway decent this year. And they just run the ball in the middle of the line at most like no success rate. And they're scared to throw the ball downfield regardless of who they have at wide receiver. None of it really adds up to me. Then I see the clip of Tennessee being uncomfortable playing in 55-degree weather where they need heaters on the bench. I mean, it feels like it's like Ohio State should be the more talented team and this number should be higher, but it's not. And I'm not. I'm at 7. I'm at 49 on the total. But I mean, if I can't get clearance from these Tennessee wide receivers, especially, I mean, all 3 of them are kind of NFL guys. If they're all having to wear like casts and they're banged up like hell, I don't feel comfortable with that. I don't really feel comfortable laying it with Ohio State because it feels like they just go into a shell every single time they play like a close game. Why why do you hire Brian Kelly if he's just going to call 40 run plays a game? I don't understand. He's calling the offense like a defensive coordinator. So I'm completely lost. What do you have here?
I cannot lay a touchdown plus in a big game with Ryan Day.
Okay. That's fair.
I just can't do it. I'm not saying he'll never cover it. I'm not doing it. I'm not putting my hard-earned money on Ryan Day to cover as a touchdown plus favorite, Eddie. Cannot do it.
No, absolutely.
I might be oversimplifying it, but I hate the way I don't think I can stress this enough. I hate the way he coaches. And
he coaches me scared.
So
I agree. Yeah.
When you're talking about laying, now as a dog, totally different, right? I played Georgia. I played Ohio State when they played Georgia in the playoff a couple of years ago, right? Obviously, when that role gets flipped, it's very different. But that was also C.J. Stroud. That makes a difference. Will Howard is
small difference there, yeah.
Yeah, no.
Will Howard and C.J. Stroud. Just a tiny difference there, man.
All right, so now we got those out of the way.
Yeah.
We can get to the good stuff.
Okay.
We can get to the good games now.
I got you. Yeah.
Coastal Carolina, UTSA. UTSA took a little bit of money out to 10, minus 15 total here at 55.5.
Yeah, another game that I thought that we wanted to release that was moving this morning when we were discussing it. So I'm just going to give it to you straight up. Coastal Carolina is an absolute wreck of a program. So both quarterbacks are gone. They entered the transfer portal. They'll be starting a quarterback who's never thrown a collegiate pass. That's to start with. They have their best wide receiver is injured. He's going to miss the game. They're missing 2 offensive line starters. They're missing their starting tight end. That's on offense. On defense, they're missing their 2 starting cornerbacks, an offensive lineman, and a backup quarterback. So most of their secondary, their passing attack is gone. They had a running back enter the transfer portal yesterday. 10 feels short to me if UTSA shows up. There is a caveat here, though, and that is that Coastal Carolina is playing a home game. It is a true home game. It's their home stadium. I always thought that kind of worked against teams, to be quite honest with you. You get rewarded for making a bowl, and then you get to stay at home. But there's a track record of, these home teams do sometimes get some good fan support, and it does turn into a real home field advantage.
Yeah.
I still think 10 is fine. I'm like at 13.5.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, yeah, I can actually suggest that I think 10 is an okay play there for sure. UTSA is missing a backup, or I guess they're starting running back. He split time with another running back and a defensive end. That's it. So basically you have a team that's all in against a team that literally has all of their players in the transfer portal.
Yep.
And these players are not playing. I'm just going to be frank. I think that this coach for Coastal Carolina, Beck, is terrible. And he's sinking the ship at this program. But then again, you go from Chadwell to Beck. What do you expect? But yeah.
No, to your point about
like.
To your point about the home, last year, because I'm in Memphis, I remember this. Memphis got the Liberty Bowl.
Yeah.
Right? And they were, 9-10 point underdogs. They went out right against an Iowa State team that was, I think everybody kind of opted in. I think most guys played for Iowa State last year. So, yeah, sometimes it can work for you. I guess it's just kind of case by case. I don't think that the fans will be necessarily rallying around the situation at Coastal Carolina this year. So, again, results may vary, but there you go. All right, couple more here before we get out of here. Northern Illinois, Fresno State. Fresno minus 305, total 40.5.
Yeah. So I played under the first time I saw this. First of all, it's played in Idaho, not a comfortable situation for Fresno State. But here we go. So Fresno State is missing their quarterback, their starting quarterback, Mikey Keene. And then NIU is missing their quarterback, Hampton. Both have signed with I guess Hampton's the only one to sign with the program yet. He's at Wake Forest now. Then they're both going to be missing their star wide receiver. They're both going to be missing their star running back. And then we're going to have Fresno, who's going to be missing a left tackle. And then, so I was super excited to play this under, right? Just couldn't believe it was at 42. I was like 38 or something like that. And then, of course, the news comes in a week later that NIU lists their all-conference safety and defensive tackle and linebacker. So that starts to run on fumes. Then Fresno loses their linebacker and starting cornerback. So I would not suggest playing under 40.5 any longer. The only thing that I can say that I would really suggest as far as a play, if you believe it, is that I think that Northern Illinois is probably used to playing in these conditions much more than Fresno.
Yeah.
And their offensive line is intact, and most of their defensive line is intact, and it's going to be a running quarterback for Fresno. I can see how you like that side. I'm just right at the number. I'm at -3, but subjectively, I could see how somebody would back Northern Illinois in this spot. Fresno State, obviously dealing with an interim coach. This will be his last game. I don't know if players are pumped to play one last game for him or what the situation is there. It just feels like both teams just decide they're going to enter the transfer portal, and who can blame these kids?
That's right.
I mean, really, like, let's just be fair. Like, if you have a chance to go get a paycheck, then you're probably going to go get a paycheck. Like,
well, and it's the way the schedule is, right?
Yeah.
You got to find a spot. You don't get a chance to sort of finish that. By the way, real quick, I misspoke. It's Northern Illinois -3, Fresno's +3.
Right.
Just to clarify for any confusion. But yes, that is the second to last before we get to South Florida, San Jose State -3, 60.5 total. Eddie, what do we got here?
Okay, so we released this play last week. It was one of our first releases, and there was a good reason behind it. It was because Nick Nash, the All-American wide receiver, had come out and said how absolutely excited he was to play in a bowl game and support San Jose State. And then yesterday he decided to opt out for the NFL. I don't know what changed there, but I will tell you this. I'm not that worried about him being gone. This is a much more talented San Jose State team, and their coach, Coach Ken, and 2 of their assistants are from Hawaii. It's going to be kind of a homecoming for them. I imagine there'll be much more San Jose State fans in the stands than there are South Florida fans. And South Florida, I'm going to give you something that I've held on to for a couple of years, for a while now, for the last few weeks at least. USF has exactly 0 wins under Alex Golesh versus teams with a winning record. They have not actually defeated anybody with a winning record yet, which I found fascinating. I watched them the last week against Rice, and they had absolutely nothing. They don't have a defense. They play super fast.
Right.
You can't run the ball on San Jose State, and obviously they're still on their backup quarterback. There's been talk for 7 weeks now about Barry Brown coming back. Every single week he lines up on the sidelines and practices with the 3rd string right before the game, which always takes over money and South Florida money, and then he never ends up playing. So I'm not falling for that. I mean, you can only
I wish they would just announce it out. Like, he's got a broken leg. He's not
over there betting over 3 minutes before game time, and then here comes old Atkins right on cue every single time.
Reliable.
Yeah. But sometimes it hits, so then you feel like you're a genius, but when you're really just an idiot. Anyways, yeah, I still think San Jose State is the much more talented team. They also haven't won a bowl game in a couple of years. Coach Ken has an extremely good bowl record. He takes these very, very seriously. Yeah. San Jose State is down a couple of cornerbacks. If Atkins is the starter, he was banged up the last game against Rice. I don't know how his accuracy is going to be. I'll read into it more in the next couple of days, but I kind of have a lean on the over, but I really still like the San Jose State side, especially at 3.
Yeah.
I just look at South Florida and like who they've beaten, and it's all like Temple and UAB, and they haven't beat a quality team once this entire season, and they haven't really even been competitive against some of the teams that I have them neutrally ranked against.
Exactly.
I mean, to get blown out by Rice the last week of the season was just.
I don't know what's going on there. I'm not gonna lie to you because I wasn't really paying attention to South. Like, why would anybody be paying attention to South Florida football? When I saw
some of us don't have a life
bowl, I was shocked. I was like, is this an academic? Like, did somebody APR allow South? I just cannot believe they're a bowl team. Yeah. They at no point have ever looked like a 6-win team. So, yes.
I mean, also you have to think from the thought process of how weird it is that they were considered as like a New Year 6 team. Them and Texas State were like, it was going to be either Memphis, South Florida, or Texas State all off season. And now you're a 6-6 team playing in the Hawaii Bowl. With your backup quarterback and a bunch of banged up guys on defense that didn't perform well. I don't know.
Yeah, I
mean, San Jose State's probably elated to be here. Their regular season win total was like 3.5, and everybody counted them out. I mean,
that's right.
I don't know. So,
yeah. I like it. I like it even at 3. I'm with you. So, listen, we have more games that we are going to discuss in a show next week. Is the plan, right?
Yeah.
So we will get back to that next week. Obviously believe I don't want to like speak out of turn, but I believe we set a record for new live viewers in this show. So we love that, and we hope that we could keep it going next week. Obviously, again, before we get out of here, respicks.com for the college football service. 3 more releases at least are expected, and you'll get access to the ones that have already been previously released and can ask any questions to the staff if you do indeed get that package. Eddie, man, happy holidays.
Hey, yeah, you too, man.
Good
Have
to
a
hear
great
from you as
Christmas.
always.
Good luck to everybody. Have a happy holiday. Enjoy yourself and good luck.